What happens when we multiply a rational number by an irrational number? Let's find out. So we know that square root 2 equals 1.414, and it will go on forever. Square root 3 similarly equals 1.732, and it goes on forever. These are simply the decimal expansions of square root to square root 3. Similarly, you can find out what is for square root 5 and square root 7. So I'm randomly writing some irrational numbers here. What we want to do is we want to multiply a rational number and an irrational number. So why don't we start with something which is super simple? So what about 1 multiplied by square root 2? Now you know that 1 multiplied by anything is really that number. So when you multiply this, what do you get? You get square root 2. So clearly this is an irrational number, right? All right, let's make it a little bit more complex. How about we multiply 2 times square root 2? So when we multiply 2 times square root 2, what happens? So let's write square root 2, which is 1.414, and it goes on like this, and then multiply this by 2. So when we actually carry out this multiplication, what do we see? So clearly, we do not have all of these numbers. We know that these numbers are non-terminating and non-repeating. But what we have seen here just from the 3 places is, if we were to do it, we will get 8, 2 4s are 8, 2 1s are 2, 2 4s are 8, and then we will get 2 here, and there will be a decimal over here. And this will go on forever. Now clearly this may change because, for example, if you have 5 or above here, and then you will multiply that, so you will get a 0, and this will become a 9 instead of 8. But the point here is that this number, when we actually multiply 2 and square root 2, we basically get a number which is non-terminating, non-repeating. That means we again get an irrational number, right? So what happens if we multiply 5 with square root 3? So again, square root 3 is this number, right? So 1.732, and this goes on forever, and we multiply this with 5. So from the first 3 places, what we can say is, so 5 2s are 10, 1 15, 1 16, 1 35 36, 3 carry over, 5 1 5, 8. And again here we don't know, but what we do know is that this part goes on forever. It is non-terminating, non-repeating. That means this will go on forever, and it will be non-terminating, non-repeating. If these numbers don't repeat, then when you multiply them with 5, they will also not repeat. So again, we are seeing that when we multiply rational number and irrational number, we are getting an irrational number. Now, let's take a look at some more examples. So let's say we want to multiply, maybe let's call, how about we multiply something like, I'm going blank here. How about like 4 by 5 times square root 2? What happens here, right? So first what we are going to do, we are going to convert 4 by 5 into the decimal form. Now 4 by 5 is a rational number, and square root 2 is an irrational number. So how do we do that? Well, we simply divide. So we have 4 divided by 5, or this will be 0.08 of 40, and now the remainder will be 0. So we have square root 2, we can write square root 2 as 1.414, and it goes on, and 4 by 5 we can write it as 0.8. So essentially we are doing this multiplication. So if you multiply, so 8 4s, and just the first 3 parts, we know that this number goes on forever, but if you just focus on the first 3 decimal places, so 8 4s are 32, 3, 8 1s are 8, 3, 11, 1, so 32, 33, 3, so 8 1s are 8 plus 3, 11. And then here this will go on forever, right? And again, if we have 5, or if we have such a number that when we multiply, if it is more and there is a carryover part, then this will be 33 or 34, right? It could be 3 or 4. But the idea here, the bigger picture here is that when we multiply, our final number will be non-terminating, non-repeating. So we are noticing that whenever we are actually multiplying a rational number with an irrational number, we will always get an irrational number. Now, this is also true for negative numbers. Remember, rational numbers don't have to be positive, right? So similarly, if you were to just simply put a minus next to it, so if the question were like this, right? So then what will be the answer to this question? So the answer will be exactly the same. In this case, answer will be minus 11.312, and it will go on forever. So this again is an irrational number. So just to quickly sum up, whenever we have a rational number and we multiply that with an irrational number, we always get an irrational number.